United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first item on the agenda this evening is reports of city officers. First one is comments by mayor. Let me begin by making a comment. Later on the agenda was an item we had planned on discussing, which was under new business discussion regarding ban on the assault weapons. It's a very important topic that has a great deal of importance to everyone in the community and certainly has a lot of passion and importance to everyone involved. We learned last night that 3 of the 8 council members would not be here this evening. A couple of them were dealing with family emergencies, some personal issues. And so given that it's such an important topic and given that we wanted to have as many council members here as possible, we made the decision to take this item off the agenda this evening, and it will be moved onto the agenda for the July 1st City Council meeting. So if you are here for this particular item, you are certainly welcome to stay. You are happy to stay, walk through the agenda with us for the rest of the items. If you'd care to leave, you're welcome to leave, knowing that the item will be on the agenda on the 1st. We do have a period later on in the evening on the agenda for public comments by the public on non-agenda items. There may be some people who are here remaining that would like to make a comment then. You're welcome to do so, but that time will be very limited. So I would encourage you, if you have comments and if you want to give the council your opinions and ideas about this particular topic, and we very much welcome that. We are a community that is very interested in getting community input and resident input. And so I would encourage you, if you want to engage in this discussion, to come back on the July 1st for the July 1st agenda, and we'll tackle it at that time. Again, we will have a public comment section, but it will be very limited. Next item under comments by mayor, resolution of appreciation for Lloyd Stout for 7 years of service, and I'll quickly read that. Whereas Lloyd Stout has been a dedicated employee of the City of Lake Forest since June 2006 as a maintenance worker in the Public Works Department. Whereas Lloyd Stout was instrumental in enhancing the metal recycling program within the route collection and at the compost center, generating an increase of over $10,000 per year in metal recycling sales. Whereas Lloyd Stout has been a dependable, and dedicated employee who took great care in the service he provided to the residents, the quality of work he contributed to his teammates, and the equipment he was assigned. Lloyd Stout is one of a kind and will be sorely missed. Whereas Lloyd Stout will be honorably retired from the city on June 15, 2013, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Lake Forest that the council, on behalf of the administration and residents of the community, hereby expresses its appreciation and gratitude to Lloyd Stout for a public service faithfully performed, and be it further resolved that the city clerk be and hereby is instructed to deliver a copy of this resolution duly signed by the mayor to Lloyd Stout this 17th day of June 2013. I need a motion to approve the resolution, please.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, unanimously. Congratulations, Lloyd. Next item on the agenda, resolution of appreciation for Scott M. Robertson. And this is a bit longer, so but I will read this as well. Whereas Scott M. Robertson has been a dedicated employee of the City of Lake Forest since January 6, 1987. And whereas Scott M. Robertson will honorably retire from the city on June 20, 2013. And whereas Scott M. Robertson served in the following positions during his dedicated career: volunteer firefighter from 1982 to 1987, full-time firefighter paramedic 1987, during which he became a certified fire investigator. Promoted to lieutenant paramedic 1993, during which he served as a shift mechanic for vehicles and equipment. Promoted to captain battalion chief 1996, during which he served as medical officer overseeing medical training. Health and safety officer overseeing compliance with intergovernmental risk management agency guidelines, and head of the city's executive safety committee. Whereas during his career with the city, Scott M. Robertson accomplished the following: was awarded several honorable mentions from Lake Forest residents, received several certifications through the Office of State Fire Marshal, was instrumental in obtaining a number of grant awards for the department. Now therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Lake Forest that the council, on behalf of the administration and residents of the community, hereby express its appreciation and gratitude to Scott M. Robertson for a public service faithfully performed. And be it further resolved that the city clerk be and hereby is instructed to deliver a copy of this resolution duly signed by the mayor to Scott M. Robertson the 17th day of June, 2013. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, unanimously approved. Scott, congratulations.
Scott, if you want to say anything?
I've enjoyed all my time
We
here.
gotta do it in the microphone.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, I'd just like to thank you all and all the residents and the members of the City of Lake Forest for the opportunity that I've had over the last 31 years to just be a small part of this municipality. I've been fortunate enough, and my family has a history of over 200 years of service with the City of Lake Forest through many facets, starting back as early as 1924. And it has just been an absolute honor of mine to be able to serve the residents. Although I'm moving on, I will always remember the time I've spent here. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Scott, very much. Next item on the agenda is proclamation in support of Lake Forest Day. Boy, it's coming already. On August 6 and August 7, 2013. Whereas the McClintock Post 264 of the American Legion has undertaken to provide appropriate exercises and entertainment in celebration of Lake Forest Day on Wednesday, August 7, 2013, with a view to bringing together the people of our city in the furtherance of civic interest and advancement of community fellowship. And whereas the McClintock Post 264 of the American Legion honors Lake Forest residents, employees, neighbors, and friends by adopting the theme, Lake Forest American Legion salutes all veterans. Therefore, be it hereby proclaimed that said Lake Forest Day celebration is declared to be a city fair, and in pursuance thereof, and Tuesday, August 6, 2013, and Wednesday, August 7, 2013, shall be observed as a holiday in the city of Lake Forest, and our people are urged to forsake their ordinary pursuits, gather in West Park in a spirit of camaraderie and goodwill in support of the ideals of our city. I need a motion to approve the proclamation, please.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And it is approved, and I want to thank the Legion for what great work they do every year in helping put on Lake Forest Days. Next item on the agenda, Cool Cities Environmental Leadership. Joining us is Jack Darin, Director of Sierra Club's Illinois Chapter, and Lonnie Morris, Illinois Cool Cities Chair, the Collaborative for Environmental Leadership. And the presentation is given tonight by Kirk Volkman, Chairman of the Park and Recreation Board. Kirk?
Oops. Rainey, you want to bail me out here? Was right there. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Schoenheider, City Council members. Thanks for the opportunity to be with you this evening. I'm Kurt Volkman, Chairman of our Parks and Recreation Board, and also chairman of our newly formed Lake Forest Collaborative for Environmental Leadership, and I'll explain in a bit what that means. With me this evening are Jack Darin, director of the Illinois Sierra Club chapter, and Lonnie Morris, chair of the Sierra Club's Illinois Cool Cities program. We'll talk about that a bit in a minute. As you know, the 2012 Lake Forest Strategic Plan includes a commitment to environmental stewardship, including objectives to promote education, sustainable policies and practices, to preserve and protect the environment, to expand our recycling, and to encourage energy efficiency. We're here tonight to celebrate our achievements, but also to renew our commitment as a community to environmental stewardship. But first, let me give you some quick background. Perhaps. Lake Forest has a long tradition of environmental stewardship, going back to our motto in 1861 when we were founded, Naturae et Scientia Amor, sorry for my Latin, which means love of nature and science, or love of nature and knowledge. Fast forward to 2007, when Mayor Mike Rummel signed the U.S. Conference of Mayors Climate Protection Agreement, stating the city's commitment to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in Lake Forest to 7% below 1990 levels by 2012. You should know that Lake Forest is one of over 1,000 communities in the United States that signed the agreement, committed to action, and became what the Sierra Club calls a cool city. In 2011, a volunteer team created the city's first energy and greenhouse gas emissions baseline, or carbon footprint, and we learned several things. We learned that the city spends over $1.2 million per year on electricity, natural gas, gasoline, and diesel fuel to support city operations. We learned that the average household in Lake Forest spends over $5,500 a year on electricity and natural gas. We learned that the city's collective greenhouse gas emissions, including city operations, businesses, and homes, exceeded 400,000 metric tons in 2007. And we learned that 82% of these emissions come from residential and commercial energy use, again, electricity, natural gas, and fuel. The city has found ways to conduct its operations as efficiently as possible, promote our recycling and waste diversion programs, and continue our commitment to urban forestry and land preservation. But the single biggest step we took, actually you took, last year as a city council was to choose 100% renewable electricity from our new supplier as part of our municipal aggregation. This single step reduced our city's emissions by more than 85,000 metric tons and allowed us to achieve the Climate Protection Agreement goal while saving residents approximately $3.5 million. That's over $500 per household. So congratulations for that, and I'd like to turn it over to Jack Darin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Jack Darin. I'm the director of the Sierra Club in Illinois, and I know you have a lot on the agenda tonight, so thank you for taking a few minutes to celebrate the good work on sustainability issues that's happening here in Lake Forest, and that we're pleased to hear will be continuing. We wanted to take a moment today to acknowledge the progress that Kurt just described, the commitment that you made in the prior administration to work on climate change here in Lake Forest is really important, not only for the reasons that Kurt described here in Lake Forest, but as an organization that tries to work to tackle such a large problem as climate change, we often face a real challenge in people feeling like they themselves, as an individual, can make a difference on a problem that is so threatening to our whole planet and our whole way of life. And that's what we really like about the Cool Cities program, is that it celebrates not only each individual and each community's capacity to make a difference on a problem that is so large, but also shows us that actually it isn't that hard. It's going to take some time, but we're talking about things like using energy smarter, choosing cleaner energy, things that help us all win in the end, not just in solving climate change, but they help the taxpayers, they make us a healthier community, a healthier state, and a healthier planet. And to salute you for the progress that you've made today, we have an award that we'd like to give you tonight. I don't know how we'd like to do this exactly, but this is for in recognition of Lake Forest achieving the targets that you made with your first Cool Cities commitment. And at the same time as we do that tonight, we'd like to thank you for the work that you're going to continue. What you're doing is basically showing here in your community that what the world scientists are telling us we need to do to solve climate change can be done, and it is being done here in Lake Forest. So thank you for your leadership. I think with that, we would entertain any questions or discussion. Is there? Oh, well, yeah, I did reference that, but just a few more details on exactly what the 2015 agreement entails. And we developed this agreement from cities like Lake Forest that, having achieved the goals of their first agreement, wanted to continue, and they were really enjoying the benefits that they were achieving by reducing their greenhouse gas emissions. So when we talked to communities like Lake Forest, and you are among the early adopters of this resolution, I think we've had about a dozen or so communities in Illinois that have taken the Cool Cities 2.0 2015 commitment. We are again keying this to a greenhouse gas emissions reduction goal. And 2% may seem like a small number, and that's really part of the message. Again, we're really keying this back to what the world scientists are telling we need to do if we're to avert the worst consequences of climate change. And they're telling us that we need to essentially be on track to achieve a 2% annual reduction by the year 2050. Now, 2050 is a very long planning horizon for a lot of local governments. So what we did was to try to break that down into a more achievable end line. So 2% below 2009 levels by 2015 is a time frame and a number that seems to work for Lake Forest and for a lot of your peers. You may ask why 2009. 2009 is a year for which readily available to all communities in northeastern Illinois is your both electricity and natural gas usage. And since most of the greenhouse gas emissions that we're talking about trying to reduce come from the energy sector, that makes it a very easy year for which to establish the baseline that you're trying to reduce from. Those are probably the biggest areas of solutions that communities have chosen to focus on energy use, but not the only ones. We definitely make an impact not only on our solid waste problems, but on our greenhouse gas emissions when we're smart about solid waste issues with recycling and composting. The exciting work that's going on here and in other communities around farmers markets and local food production also has an impact in a positive way on our carbon footprint. And transportation choices also are the other big sector, in addition to energy use, of how we have an impact on climate change. So there are different ways that the community could choose that work best for it to hit that goal. It's keyed back to a number that's based on what the world scientists are telling. And in the end, the educational component is really important to showing the community that we can lead by example in your community and make people feel like and know that they really are making a difference on a problem that sometimes can seem somewhat unsolvable. Thank you. Kurt, do you have anything else?
Yeah, well, I've got it here if we can, or either one.
So I would just want to close with a few comments to explain what we have planned to achieve what we just signed up for and achieve the objectives of the strategic plan, and I will be brief. As I mentioned before, we have formed this voluntary group called the Lake Forest Collaborative for Environmental Leadership. We signed the Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, earlier this year, and the organizations that are participating are shown here: the city staff, college, both school districts, and Lake Forest Open Lands Association. Each of these groups has assigned a primary and a backup representative to the steering committee, and we've met half a dozen times already this year. I want to just share briefly the purpose and the goals of the collaborative and then talk a bit about what we're focused on right now. This is an excerpt from the MOU. I'm not going to read it all, but basically it's about education and coordination of environmental action, assisting the community in identifying issues and developing new programs, and really to promote environmental thinking and enhancing our conservation ethic. We'll work closely with key institutions to do what I just described above. So we have the full MOU. I'm happy to share it with you if you'd like to read it. Specific goals, there are 4 of them. Again, promoting awareness of environmental concerns, including water, our ravines, invasive species, air quality, tree disease, which we've talked a lot about, or tree pests we've talked a lot about, and reduction of waste. We want to develop and promote community-wide projects and programs aimed at improving our natural environment and quality of life. We want to engage our residents to take action and to address environmental issues and manage our resources. And finally, we want to assist in the development of responsible standards, ordinances, and policies and promote educational awareness of environmental practices. So you see throughout this the focus on awareness and engagement, and I really took that to heart when we met for the first time, and we factored in some guidance from Bob Kiley, who said he wants this group to talk and act, not just talk. So in our first meeting, we identified 3 priority areas for the collaborative. The first, in response to the severe impact of the emerald ash borer on our tree canopy, we're working closely with city staff to inform residents on their treatment and removal options and to encourage them to replant diverse but native species so we're best prepared for the next wave of pests and diseases. Secondly, we're in the early stages of planning and seeking funding for a ravine restoration project and education program, which will likely be centered on Seminary Ravine, which is the one at the south end of Forest Park. It's the one you see when you're driving down to the boat ramp. And lastly, we're working hard on an education series that we're calling Where Does It Come From, Where Does It Go? Eventually, we're going to develop content for both energy and solid waste, but we're currently focused on water. And the debut of this series will be at our July 18th community engagement meeting hosted by Alderman Reisenberg. So if you're interested in better understanding our freshwater systems, our stormwater systems, our sewer water systems, where it comes from, where it goes, why we have irrigation restrictions, why the beaches close occasionally, we're going to talk about all that on July 18th and encourage you to come out and join us. And in closing, if any of you here today or watching want to get involved in the collaborative, please don't hesitate to contact me or others on the steering committee, and we've got a few of them out here tonight. John Centel, Lake Forest Openlands. Want to stand up, John? Chuck Myers, city staff. Jim Sullivan, who's with the high school. And I think those are the ones represented tonight. So thank you for coming out. Thanks for the time, and we'll field any questions you may have.
Any questions for Kurt or anyone from Sierra? Great.
I just, one question is, one of the things that I know has been loosely discussed at the city level when it comes to the equipment fleet is what the potential is for converting over to natural gas. And I'd be interested in your thoughts about that. Maybe the representative of the Sierra Club might have some wisdom to impart on the advantages or probably disadvantages of natural gas, but also, I know it's just to me, it seems like a logical long-term goal to significantly reduce the emissions and also save a lot of money if we can get through the initial upfront cost.
Me to speak to that?
Please.
I think that's a very evolving field about looking for moving from gasoline-powered vehicles or diesel to natural gas. I think there probably are some limited carbon benefits. I think they can contribute to your baseline. It's one of those technologies also that, in addition to making a difference on your global carbon emissions, has very localized air quality benefits, particularly if you're talking about heavy-duty vehicles where there can be a lot of diesel and particulate emissions that I'm sure will cause a lot of concern among residents when you have construction or other projects going on. I think we'd also recommend for particularly lighter duty vehicles to look at electric vehicles as an option as well to price those out. We've seen a lot of communities that have found co-benefits with electric vehicle infrastructure helping to build traffic either for business or public buildings by installing charging stations that are used for municipal vehicles, but also creating opportunities for residents who buy that kind of car to also recharge at those spots. I think they're both worth looking at.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is we have the pleasure of appointing 2 new members for boards and commissions, appoint and reappoint tonight. Reappointment for the Croya Board, Louis Pickus from Ward 4, and stepping in to replace a board member, Fred Moyer, will be appointed from Ward 1 for the Building Review Board. I need a motion to approve those appointments, please.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, unanimously approved. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, comments by City Manager. Bob Kiley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. The first item under my agenda is a report on an important improvement that we've made to these council chambers that you cannot see but are very important for those who want to hear. So let me introduce first Karina Walters, the Assistant City Manager, and she's going to walk us through this improvement that was recently made.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Bob did a very nice introduction, but really what's important to know is we would not have been able to do this if it wasn't from the help of Dr. Linda Remenschneider. She's an audiologist as well as a Lake Forest resident, and she generously donated in order for us to have this loop system that you can't see. But I'm really going to turn the microphone over to her because she's the expert, and I really would like you to just hear a few words of the importance of why this initiative, we took it, and moving forward.
Thank you. If I was sitting in your seat, I'd want to know, why do you need it? You're all using microphones. I'm using a microphone, and it's relatively quiet. Let me first explain how it works. What it is it's a magnetic wire that runs around the periphery of the room, either at the floor or at the ceiling, and it generates a magnetic field so that people with hearing loss can hit a button on their hearing aid and link right into each one of your individual microphones, as well as this one. So whether someone's at a pulpit or at a podium, people with hearing loss can actually hear better than normal hearing people. It completely eliminates any background noise. It eliminates the reverberation that's available in this room because of the high ceilings and the hard surfaces. And it eliminates all distance issues. So even if someone was sitting in the corner, they'd hear perfectly. So if you wonder why you would need it, hearing aids really don't work that well. They pick up what's closest. And so if somebody's rattling some papers or somebody's whispering about something you said, and if that person is closer, then the person with hearing loss hears that person and can't hear the important work you do. If you're interested in what environments have it right now in the city, right here, the First Presbyterian Church has it, and the Church of St. Mary's has it, and Dickinson Hall has it, and the Vale Room in Lake Forest Place has it. Important other places are the Marriott Theater and the 5 theaters that are under renovation in Highland Park at Renaissance Place. And nationally, the chambers of the Senate and the House of Representatives have it, thank God, because they're voting and they need to hear every little thing. So if you think it's not needed, may I remind you that hearing loss is the #1 condition in babies. May I remind you that the fastest percentage of people losing their hearing are teenagers. May I remind you about aging in this country, and that actually there's going to be a lot of people over 65 and 75 and 85 and 95. And may I remind you that there's way more people that need access for hearing problems than they need for physical challenges like needing a wheelchair access or Braille for somebody who's blind. And so just like Lake Forest has always been for me since 1980 when I moved here, you're a leader, and I thank you so much, especially to the mayors and to the city manager, and Karina, who's been supportive, and Bill Schellis, and Ed Johnson. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's a great contribution, and on behalf of all of us, thank you for stepping up and doing that. I read recently that was it 10,000 people a day turned 60, and so we've all got it coming. So thank you very much.
We all went to rock and roll concerts.
Yeah,
when we
that's
were young.
right.
The next item on my agenda, I will also call on another special guest, Police Chief Jim Held, who's going to come up and make a special award.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This is one of those nice times I get to talk to you. I don't have a problem doing this. Bob Heelan here, we're going to give him a Departmental Commendation Award for his actions back in April 8th. A little bit of history of how we do these awards. If an officer does something that is a little bit above and beyond, there's a committee that gets together, reviews the case, reviews the reports, and they will make a recommendation for a specific award. The Commendation Award is probably one of the higher awards that we have in the police department. A little bit about Bob. Bob's been here, I'm going to blow up Bob, 26 years. So I've worked with Bob my whole career, or his whole career. We worked together in investigations. Bob's one of those go-to guys that we have. As an investigator, he was a phenomenal person. He was our, as we used to call him, the wizard, because he was our computer guy in investigations. So he could pretty much handle anything that comes down the pike. This award is for something that happened, like I said, April 8th this year, about a little before 8 o'clock. He responded to Route 22, Lakeside Drive in Bannockburn, Illinois. There had been an armed robbery in Deerfield with 3 offenders. So there was a vehicular pursuit that ended in that area. So Bob immediately arrived on scene, and he and a Bannockburn police officer took one of the offenders in custody immediately. Bob then took the initiative to go start checking a local hotel for another offender. He went into the lobby, saw a person in the lobby who matched the description, pulled his service weapon, took the offender into custody at gunpoint, handcuffed him, turned him over to Deerfield detectives. He didn't stop there. Then he went and helped look for the third guy. Unfortunately, they didn't find the third guy, but he got 2 out of 3. Pretty good rate there. Deerfield police they couldn't be more happy with the results and the work that Bob did. He displayed exceptional courage, professionalism, performance, and it was a general knowledge of the area and knowing what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. Exceptional performance on Bob, so I'm going to congratulate Bob. Thank you.
The next item on my agenda is also something that's probably going to please a lot of the police officers, and that's the new contract. So Deshae Kalmar is going to talk about the new police collective bargaining agreement.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, I will do my best to get through this without coughing. But I am very pleased to present the new contract for your approval. It was looked at by the PCA committee at their last meeting on May 20th. The duration of the contract is 4 years, so it will expire April 30th, 2017. It includes pay increases that operate very similar to what we did with the fire contract. We kind of split the steps on some of them. So for the first year of the contract, which is this year, going back to May 1, steps 1 through 3 are 1.5%, steps 4 through 7 are 2.5%. And you did approve a 2.5% raise, general adjustment for the rest of the non-organized city employees this year. FY15, steps 1 through 3 are 2%, 4 through 7 are 2.5%. Steps 1 through 6 in FY16 are 2.5%, and the final step, step 7, is 3%. For FY17, we do have a wage reopener. What that means is that we will go back to the bargaining table, but the only thing that will be on the table at that point are pay increases. None of the other items will be open for discussion at that point. The longevity pay is exactly the same as we worked out with the fire department. And there was a chart in your packet on that. Holiday compensation for FY14 will stay status quo. A lot of places will do overtime or something if someone has to work on a holiday, which our police officers obviously do. We do not do that. We give them just a one-time holiday bonus, a flat dollar amount. This year it will be status quo of $140. In FY15 it'll be $150, and then in FY16 and FY17 it'll go up to $160. There are a number of smaller items. We have field training officer pay, FTO pay. These are the people who take our new rookie officers and actually train them out in the field. They have a very important job because they're the ones who are really saying, is this person going to make it as an officer here, or are they not going to be able to do it? They get an increase of they get $1,000 a year. We're increasing that to $2,000 a year for this extra duty. There are only 6 FTOs. We don't utilize them all the time, and they only get the pay when they do it. This pay at $1,000 is the first time it's been increased since the first contract in 1999, and it actually was that same dollar amount prior to them having contracts. So it's been a very long time since we've increased that. The other one is officer in charge, OIC pay. That's being increased from $1,000 to $1,500 a year. These are people typically who are on our promotions list, who fill in. It gets them a little bit of managerial training, and they fill in when there's not another officer, commander in charge for the day. That also has not been increased since 1999. Currently, we don't have any OICs because we have a very short sergeant list right now. And then we added a specialty unit pay, and that's for the people who work as evidence technicians. It's $500 per year. We have 5 of those. So in all of these, we're talking about very modest amounts of money. The evidence techs do a lot in regard to investigations on cases. It is specialized training. They do have a lot of training that they have to go to meet that. And then finally, we have a clothing stipend for those who work as youth officers in investigations. It's being increased $50. It was $200 a month. It's going up to, for a 6-month period. It's going up to $250 for a 6-month period. Again, first time that's been increased since the 1999 contract, and that is taxable income to them. And comp time, we changed the comp time a little bit. We reduced the hours, but we made it refillable. The chief feels very strongly that this will help our overtime costs. On the health insurance, they have agreed to everything that we do for all of our other employees. And while it's not specifically an economic issue, the city received some very favorable language on how we deal and are able to deal with an underperforming police officer. So I think that was crucial and important to us. As I mentioned, the PCA did review these economic items at their May 20th meeting, and I do present it for you very happily now. We did this with no lawyers. So no offense to the lawyers on the on the council, but other than reviewing the final contracts, I think that was we had a very good relationship and it went well. So
That's great. Questions for Deshay? If not, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the Metropolitan Alliance of Police Collective Bargaining Agreement between the city and the Lake Forest Police Officers.
So moved.
Second? Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck.
Aye.
Alderman Pandaleon.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
Alderman Adelman.
Aye.
5 yeas, 0 nay, motion carries.
Thank you, Biddy.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Deshay, for your good work.
And the last item under my report, you heard earlier this evening a presentation on the city's new website that was just launched. I would encourage all residents to go to the website and view it and play with it, practice it. If you find things that you think can be improved, certainly let us know. And I also want to recognize the tremendous effort and hard work that Susan Banks did in pulling all this together. I told her earlier today that I think I would have blown my brains out if I had been working on this project because it was extremely difficult. and trying to bring in the interests of so many different departments and department heads and other people, and she did a great job getting it there, and I think anyone who visits a new site will find it not only easy to use, but really, I think, speaks highly of our community and the quality of our community. So with that, I complete my report this evening.
Great. Thank you, Bob. Next item on the agenda, comments by council members.
And I do have a quick comment, or might be an advertisement. And our next Lake Forest Community Engagement Forum is scheduled for this Thursday. It's a non-Blackhawk game night. I think the Hawks are playing on Monday, wait, that's tonight, and Wednesday night. So this would be Thursday, and it's going to be 7 o'clock at Gorton. And at that point in time, we're going to be discussing a completely different topic that maybe lacks a little of the glamour of the topics that Mike Adelman had or some of the other council members. I get to talk about garbage and recycling. And the city, at this point, is examining numerous facets of what we do. And there has been an attempt to consolidate services from the city. There is a study regarding shared fired services, maybe central dispatching and shared IT services. And again, as part of the overall study of the budget and ways to optimize and reduce our expenses, we're looking for ways with the sanitation department and their collection programs to improve. And we need community involvement and comments from the community to get better. Some of the topics we're going to discuss are sensitive to some of the community members, and that would be the ongoing debate of should we reduce garbage collection from 2 days a week to 1 day a week? Is there a different way that we could use our employees' services in other facets to maybe cut the budget, maybe gain in other areas? We'll examine our recycling program. We'll examine the compost center and different ways, and we like comments from the community to, again, get the idea or input from the community of how to get better. Anyways, cutting it short because the hockey game is going long. It's Thursday, Gorton Community Center at 7 o'clock. Thanks.
In case I can't attend, I'd like to suggest you consider equipping the fleet with flux capacitors that burn garbage.
We have a committee we're forming for that.
You've been
Capacitor
drafted.
committee?
Yeah.
Any other comments by council members? Hearing none. Moving on, opportunity for citizens to address the city council on non-agenda items. Could I ask tonight if there's anyone here that is still here this evening that would like to speak to the assault weapon issue? They'd raise their hand. Seeing none. Anyone else with any other comments they'd like to make to the council tonight on any non-agenda items? Yes, sir. Please come forward. If you'd come forward and state your name and address, please.
My name is Patrick Lupton, and I live at 1454 Willow Street in the First Ward, and I've been a resident of Lake Forest for about 30 some odd years. And Lake Forest is a shining star on the hill, and I think we loved every minute living here and raising our children. But from the First Ward, I have to say SOS. We are in trouble. We have lost a very valuable asset. And we also feel very strongly that a trust has been violated in our neck of the woods. And this is all involving the high school. The high school informed us about 2 days before Memorial Day weekend that they were calling for a meeting. And at that meeting, they wanted to discuss the track. Fine. So several of the citizens went to the meeting, and there we were sitting in their hall. And it was a very poorly organized meeting. We discussed the track, and then they said, oh, by the way, we're going to dig a detention pond, which will be the entire length of the park. Now, this park is north of the field house, and they want to dig it 5 feet down. The park has been grandfathered to us by the various different school boards, saying we will never touch that. We've gone through our construction, we've eaten up all the land that we can, and that will always be your park, the park for the community and for instruction of the high school. The high school uses it every day during proper weather conditions. The children who are physically handicapped use it for their gym class. Oftentimes, after school, it is one of the greatest Super Bowls in East Lake Forest going on with the kids. Ultimate Frisbee goes on, and it's utilized all the time. But no, we want to put 2 extra lanes on the track. We have a 6-lane track now. We need to make it 8. We asked the school board why, and we oftentimes get no answer whatsoever. The situation, I think we did the mathematics, and they're going to spend somewhere between $2 million. And so each track meet will cost something like $58,000 because we have about 6 track meets a year. And is it really worth it to throw away a very valuable piece of real estate, a resource for many of the citizens and the students of the Lake Forest area, and so on? So it's we come basically to you to say, number one, the citizens. We had 80 members of the neighborhood at the school board meeting last Thursday, and we just got the stone face. And we're told, well, the assistant superintendent will meet with you and we'll talk about operations and how it's going to work out. No situation saying, hey, let's postpone this meeting, let's postpone this project and make sure we have our numbers correct, make sure this is the right direction to go. With this type of environmental change, and I'm glad the Sierra was here too, to understand what we're going through, it's rather scary that it was dropped on us, and this is what we're going to do. You're going to like it, and that's enough of you. And we came falling back saying, gee, we've all invested in this community for 30 some odd years. We are, I believe we're taxpayers and we're also voters. Could we please at least have a discussion and adapt maybe a postponement of this project? So what I just wanted to basically, I guess the only communications I can do, we do have separation of government. We all know the high school is an independent organization and the city is another tax entity. But the main thing is that the alderman, the mayor, the city manager are community leaders. A community leader can say, hey, I know we can't do anything about this, but members of the school board, could we please take a timeout and discuss this in a proper way with your community that supports you? Thank you very much for your ears, and we'll see what happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lupton. Any other comments on that from staff? We good? We'll certainly go back and have some conversation about that as well. Next item on the agenda, items for omnibus vote consideration, and I'm going to read all 7 of them. If any of the council would like to take any of these separately, we can do so at the end. Item number 1, approval of the June 3rd, 2013 regular city council minutes. Item number 2, approval of the February 19, 2013 and April 15, 2013 city council executive session minutes and direction to keep such minutes confidential. Number 3, consideration and approval of the prevailing wages resolution. Number 4, approval of the Department of Homeland Security American Firefighter Grant Award Package for a new cardiac monitor defibrillator for our ambulances FY 2014, and that's a revised approval. Number 5, consideration of ordinances approving recommendations from their Building Review Board, first reading if desired by the council, final approval. Number 6, consideration of ordinances approving recommendations from the Zoning Board of Appeals, first reading and also if desired by the council, final approval. And number 7, consideration of an ordinance approving a recommendation from the Historic Preservation Commission, first reading and if desired by the City Council, final approval. Unless any of the council members would like to take any of those items individually, I'd ask for a motion to approve all omnibus items.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please, Biddy.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck.
Aye.
Alderman Pandaleon.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
Alderman Adelman.
Aye. And did we just approve those and go right to final reading?
Yes.
Okay.
5 yeas, 0 nay, motion carries.
Great. Biddy, thank you very much. We, again, just to restate for anyone watching on television, we had on the agenda this evening the discussion regarding the ban on assault weapons. We have moved, because 3 of the 8 aldermen were not able to be here tonight, we have moved that item on the agenda to the July 1st meeting. It's an important topic of discussion. We want to make sure we get good input from the community as well as from all the councils. So we have moved that item, excuse me, again, to the July 1st, 2013 council meeting.
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask you a question on that?
Yes.
So it's itemized here as a discussion regarding ban on assault weapons. Can you just elaborate a little bit on what we'll be doing when it comes up on the agenda?
Vic, can you step in there?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The concealed carry law that has been passed by the General Assembly and is awaiting consideration by the governor has within it a preemption of home rule powers. The bill also has one narrow limitation where home rule power can still be exercised in the context of assault weapons. That power can be exercised not at all, or it can be exercised either through some modest regulation all the way up to a ban with respect to possession and ownership of assault weapons. The unique aspect of the bill as passed is that if a home rule municipality does not exercise its authority with respect to assault weapons or does not adopt some form of regulation within 10 days after signature by the governor, it will be preempted from doing so forever, or at least for so long as that law remains in place. As a result of this relatively unusual, I would say very unusual approach by the General Assembly in terms of the preemption of home rule powers, the council has the opportunity to do something to preserve the city's prerogative as a home rule community. And again, it can be something very modest, or it can be something more expansive in terms of what, if any, action the council wants to take. There have been a number of discussions among communities around the state about what, if anything, to do. You may have seen that Lieutenant Governor Simon has spoken out on it. And again, it's a policy choice for the council if it wants to do anything. And if it chooses to do something, you have a range of activities that you can take. One of the key other provisions I should note is that if you have exercised your home rule power, you can then maintain your prerogative to amend how you exercise that home rule power in the future. So it's, you know, although in many respects the focus is on the assault weapons, the issue is very much one of home rule authority and preserving that prerogative or not. So that's really the issue that's before the council if it chooses to do anything at all about it.
Thanks. You're welcome. Any additional items for council discussion this evening? Hearing none, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, no.
You're done.
And he took a whiff right.